Hey, what's up? Today's Tuesday, working on the 545 pretty much all day today. Lots of progress. Got the reverse switch connected as you saw earlier. We're waiting on that pigtail and a few more connections through the IVM or integrated supply module, which doesn't exist in the M5 for whatever reason, but it's here in the 545, that green module. It's got a bunch of connections in the bottom and even more out the top. But it's in the 545 and the 550, so the N62 powered cars, and probably the M54 and M57, whatever the inline 6 was. So we're connected there. Put the car in reverse, PDC activates, reverse lights come on. That's fixed. Another problem we had, the brake lights were stuck on all the time. I thought it was a wiring problem. It turns out the switch at the brake pedal was dislodged. So I clipped that back in. It's not broken. It had just been taken out and not put in right by somebody working on this before. So that is fixed. Then we've got loose wires down there. I'm not quite done yet. It's taken all day to wire the clutch position sensor. There's 4 wires on the clutch position sensor. One is a ground. That one's done. Number 2 needs to connect to the DME. I'll talk more about that in a second. Number 3 connects to the CAS, which is the body module down here in the footwell. So I connected that pin 3 to pin 3. And then pin 4 for the clutch switch goes to pin 41 on the CAS. So those connections are made. Pin 2 on the clutch position switch needs to make it all the way up to the DME through the firewall. And generally on the SMG conversions, which I've done several of now, there are extra wires for selecting SMG settings somewhere in this area where the shifter was. So I'm able to repurpose one of those, move it over in the DME box. It's already run through the firewall, and then extend it and run it up over all the steering linkages tied to other wiring harnesses to make it to the clutch switch. That does not exist on the automatic. Unfortunately, the automatic, all the logic is in the transmission, whereas the SMG ECU's in the DME box next to the DME. So what we had to do was connect the IVM, find an IVM integrated supply module connection down to A7000, the X8005 connector, I believe, 17-pin big old round connector on the transmission. So we have a connection under the car. Then the automatic had some wires that went from the shifter area down to the transmission. So we bridged that gap. So now we're in the cabin. So tomorrow now I'll take my wire, which is the one hanging out right there on the seat, and we'll extend that wire and run it up zip tied to another harness and plug it into pin 2. We'll clean up the wiring, plug in the sensor, and then we should have a finished clutch position sensor, which is a lot of the wiring for this. So we're good with the reverse lights, brake, and clutch position sensor as of tomorrow. That might put us in a start situation, which would be really nice if we're able to get this thing running and movable, at which point we can focus on reassembly, additional coding and programming if needed. This is the first torque converter swap I've done, so I don't know if anything's going to need to change with ABS, stuff like that. It's complaining all over the place about missing connections, and I think that's because I've cycled the key with the integrated supply module disconnected. So we'll probably need to pop the battery, let it sleep overnight, clear all the codes, and then get a good idea of what's going on and what the car still needs. So big progress today, finally able to allocate some time on it. That's what's going on there. On the Alpine car, we're waiting on parts that I mentioned yesterday, so I didn't make any progress there. And then this guy's still pending an MPI. So we're getting there very slowly. I'm gonna head home. Ken and I are gonna go shopping. We need to hit Ralph's for some groceries and such, and eat dinner, and then go to bed. A day like this, my back really hurts, having to up and down and laying in the cabin. And at one point I thought I was gonna have to pull a wire through the firewall, which sucks. So I had started to take apart the lower dash, and there's just no way that the owner of this car has retrofit so many features. There's some big module up in there behind the glove box that he's added. It looks like it's in the most bus with fiber optic cables and stuff. So that's where we are.